G'day campers, how are you? And welcome back to another Thursday Night Live on the Campfire Project. And tonight, coming to you live from Melbourne, and we're all making sure that we're keeping our distancing, making sure we're wearing our masks and staying with the tune of the government. So tonight, I would like to thank my wonderful guests, all of us from Melbourne. We've got Martyn Jones, who lives in the city of Martyn. G'day, Martyn.
G'day.
G'day, John. How are you? Who lives out in the east of Melbourne?
I'm well. How are yourself, Scott? And how's everyone else?
Fantastic. Thank you, John. And we've got Heather, who lives in the north of Melbourne. How are you, Heather?
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've made a fair point here that we're wearing a mask and showing where we are. So I'm having trouble seeing, and I actually want to hear what everybody's got to say. So, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight and talking about a subject that, depending on your situation, is felt in a very different manner for a lot of different people. So tonight, I'd like to start with Heather, if that's okay. How are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, as I was talking before, it's a bit like the weather in Melbourne. Always, I can find I can always find a silver lining, and at the same time, there are times where it's really tough, and the energy and everything that's going on, just like most of us here in the campfire, we're empaths. And then you just sort of start to feel everything. And then I'm like, is this mine? Like, is this mine? Is this someone else's in the house? Like, what is going on here? So yeah, I admit there's times I'm quite emotional. And then, I don't get lost in it that often. Most of the time I can witness it. 6.5 months of being in one place, being away from family, being away from friends is... it's tough at times.
Yeah, thank you. When was the last time you saw your family?
Well, my parents, I think it's about 4 months ago, and they lived with me for 7 years, and they moved into aged care just as we went into lockdown. And I managed to get over there when we had that little break in between. I managed to get over and do a few things. And then, I have 2 grandchildren. So I saw them last weekend for the first time in 4 months. So they used to stay here every weekend. So, it's tough to be away from our loved ones.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. John, how are you feeling at the moment, mate?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling busy. There's just I've got a lot sort of happening in my little neck of the woods at the moment. So, work's work, and I'm lucky to be doing that. I appreciate there are other people out there who probably aren't as lucky as I am. So, I'm pretty grateful I've still got a job. But I think overall I'm a little bit like Heather. I'm trying to see the positives in what we've got at the moment and what you can, I suppose, do with your own situation if there's something at all you can do. So, I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation and, sort of drive some changes and growth in a number of sectors of my life.
Brilliant. Where are those growth sectors you try to work on at the moment?
Probably first and foremost is, obviously, not obviously, but I've got 2 little girls, so spending a lot of time with them and doing stuff with them. And, we spend a lot more time with each other, probably obviously because we can't do a lot, so which is totally cool, but which has been really nice. And then, probably the other side of things is probably more to do with business and career.
Yep. Brilliant. Yep. Thank you.
So, no worries. Thank you.
Martyn, how are you feeling at the minute?
At the minute, I'm doing okay. I mean, I think I've coped fairly well with it, considering I thought I'd be in Bali for the winter with my partner. So a bit like Heather, not seeing loved ones is difficult, but I try and see as Heather said, the silver lining. I always remind myself of the one of my absolute favorite quotes by Byron Katie. When I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. So,
So good.
you know.
And you, Scott?
Sorry, I'll just finish with Martyn quickly. So,
Yep.
how does that feel?
Well, if I can't, I try not to get caught up in the too much negativity. If I can't change something, I need to go with the flow. Otherwise, I'm swimming upstream, so I'm in a place of struggle. I'm not saying it's always easy, and I found myself probably easier in the beginning. I find myself lately kind of withdrawing from some conversations. I'm losing interest. And I mean, one of my housemates, I notice I can see little bits of irritability coming in, and I'm hearing that generally around that people are, it's the cracks are beginning to show. So I don't know whether, that for me is a sign I'm not coping as well as I like to think I am. But yeah, it's gone on long enough. The lack of freedom. I do get, and I hate people coming to me with all the conspiracy theories. That does my head in because, again, if it's something I can't change, I don't want my head full of negativity and crap because that's not, it's not where I want my energy to go.
Yeah.
So even though if there's some truth in it and I can't change it, okay, don't try and fill my head with it. That's your stuff. So that gets to me. And I've got a few people around who try and do that.
It's pretty easy to go down a rabbit warren right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, thank you, Martyn. So,
sure.
And thank you, Heather, because for me at the moment, it's as much as it's a very heavy time, and I'm finding myself talking to a lot more men at the moment than I ever have. I feel like it's now a time of absolute reflection, and it's showing up a lot of flaws. There's little things in my life that, I want to do better, but I can't be bothered. I've lost interest in, communicating with all my guys and, Sunday sessions, which is my passion. I've pretty much let that sit for the moment because I don't want to throw my positivity onto everybody because I don't think I sort of appreciate everybody's at different stages right now, and I don't wish to bombard people with my energy. I learnt that very quickly in the very first part of the lockdown, which was really interesting because I try to go in support, and I sort of got shut down every which way I went, and it destroyed me. So this lockdown, I've focused on supporting groups, still taking on new people to have discussions, but supporting groups, and I'm really. This is going to sound crazy. I'm excited about what we can do. I'm excited about what we're going to learn out of this, providing we're brave enough to step into that and actually take on that challenge. And that's something for me that, as a society, we really need to look at because I think our values are being questioned exponentially. There's a massive light being shined directly on Melbourne. And I just want to say I'm so proud of every single Melburnian who doesn't like wearing a mask, but they wear it because, they respect other people and they just want to try and not instill any more fear, and it's a tough gig. And I'm pretty sure every single person knows somebody who's not doing the right thing. Who's not trying to help our community. And for me, that's shining a really big light on what it is about, because as a society, we always accommodate for the 1%. And it's time for that 1% to lift their game. So, sorry, but that's how I'm feeling right now. So, Yeah. So thank you. There's a lot more, and I'll share a little bit later. So
Yeah.
I just had a comment come through, which I'll put up. More negative tests, more negativity in testing times doesn't help with anything. Stay positive, and that's true. And sitting here tonight on the panel is, 4 people who look for positives in situations. So it's going to be exciting to actually go into that. So if it's okay, I'd actually like to jump. Yeah, try. Absolutely. And that's the whole point of this. We've got to try things. We've got to try new things. So I'm going to go around again and ask, Martyn, what have your wins been? What are your wins been during this lockdown? What have you learnt about yourself that you didn't know, or what are you achieving that you wouldn't have otherwise done?
Well, the first 3 months of lockdown, I was working from home before, which I didn't enjoy, but I was being paid and not always having a full day of work. And then at the end of June, I was made redundant, but I knew that was coming, so it wasn't COVID related. So I felt that time at home got me used to being at home. It wasn't sort of July 1, oh, suddenly I'm at home. Shit, what do I do now? So it was that was a good transition. Bless you, Heather. So it's certainly been a time to, look at, I guess, because of the end of my job. So a time to reset, rethink what I want. So I've been, I created some new morning habits, which I love. So instead of, rushing out the door to a cafe in the morning on the way to work, which I did love, but it was a habit that I had for a long time. So I've realized I can actually break habits I've had for a long time. So now in the morning, it's very different. I get up and do a little bit of movement and meditation, affirmations, that kind of thing. And then have coffee at home. And I was asking the universe to kind of guide me. So, and I was led to working with men for some reason. I think because it's a challenge, possibly, for me to work with more men. And then I found by accident a men's mentoring group. So I applied to be a mentor, which is a volunteer role.
Mentoring men?
Mentoring men, yeah.
Because you may not know this, but the Campfire Project actually supports mentoring men.
Ah, okay.
And, we donate to them.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So
they're doing.
I'm so glad you're a part of that now.
Yeah, I am. And I did the training only less than 2 weeks ago, and already have my first mentee. So Victoria has a lot of requests for support. So yes, that I feel that's been really good coming out of it. And culling. I've been looking at what I can cull, which something I didn't do before. Getting things done that might have taken months longer, like my tax, and thinking about the future, where I want to live. So yeah, a lot of good things and good planning, I guess, have come out of it, which if I was in a busy work cycle, I probably wouldn't do.
So saying that, going back into what people, and only because it's the simulation of what people are asking for, going back to normality, which is not going to be the case. What are the things you're going to take with you as your wins? What are you going to make sure you stay with?
Well, working from home, so I won't be looking for another full-time job. Yeah. So I just want to do things from home, and some of the things I planned to do, I couldn't do because of COVID.
Yep.
Like using my hands on people, and I do filming and extras work, so that's all out the window for now. So I did plan on that and the money for that, but so that hasn't happened. But when we get back to some kind of normal, I see myself, being entrepreneurial, having. I'm a Gemini, so I like to do different, different things. So doing a bit of this, a bit of that, keeping myself, occupied. I find I'm also trying to read a bit more. I say reading, but generally. So I think a slower pace, but doing more things that I love rather than just going to a job which I may not love.
Well, I love the fact that you're becoming a mentor for mentoring men, because you're a gorgeous soul that I really, for me, I want to share the world with you, because you have so much to offer. And
Thank you.
And I'm going to promote both you and Heather now. You're both amazing coaches. And, if anyone's looking for someone just to work with for a little bit to understand, you couldn't go past them. So just a little plug, but it's worth it. So
thank you, Scott.
It's awesome. So thank you very much for that, Martyn.
Pleasure.
John, what are your wins?
I think early on, my biggest win was probably I managed to drop about 12 kilos of weight. When funny thing is, if you'd seen me in reality back then, because I'm about 6'3" in height, so I can carry it. So I was pushing about 102 kilos. And then when I got a blood test from a doctor, my neurologist actually, and got a call a couple of days after I'd seen him from his receptionist saying, hey, you need to come back and see Mark. There's just something in your blood test. So I've just seen him. Why don't she's like, no, you need to come back and see him Monday next week. Now, this is when COVID was starting to kick off. I thought, oh, geez, I've got it, or there's something else wrong or whatever. And so I sort of, had to sit tight for about a week. And I go and have a chat with him. And he goes, look, nothing to be too alarmed about, but we found some fat deposits on your liver. And you could probably stand to lose about 2 or 3 kilos. And I said, all right, no worries. But didn't tell me, hey, go to a nutritionist over here or whoever over there to get what you need and you'll be good. He just said, you just need to lose 2 to 3 kilos. So I thought, all right, fine. I'm not one to sit around and wait. So I just went and did a bit of Googling and found some body weight workout routine, because we couldn't go to the gyms at that point, and just changed my diet up a bit. And, I think set myself a little bit of a goal, and then I chewed through that pretty quickly, and I thought, oh, what else could I do? And then I just went hell for leather, and before I knew it, I was sitting at about 88 kilos. So,
Wow.
Which was good. So that was a combination of, just the body weight stuff and a bit of hiking. I run a tourism business down here in Melbourne. So that was good. And it was mainly probably 95% of the diet, if I'm completely honest. So that was probably the biggest win. And then, just a few various bits and pieces with the sort of small marketing agency I've got up and running. And I think the reason why I'm positive at the moment is even though it's a down period for a lot of things, there's still a lot of opportunities out there. And in my space in digital marketing, there's a lot of businesses that have had to pivot from selling purely face-to-face to, now we've got to do delivery. Now we've got to build a website. Now we've got to sell online and all that. So it's blown right up that sort of space. So, just getting a couple of little leads and projects here and there, which has been good and kept me busy, probably around the clock on top of my 9-to-5 job. So, that's the point. I'm busy and I'm well, and just sort of enjoying opportunities at the moment that are sort of coming my way.
Brilliant. Thank you. Same question again. What are the wins that you're going to take into the future that you've learned?
I think one thing is I've always been someone who's been minimalist. I don't need much to live. I've been like that ever since I was a little kid. I don't need a real fancy car or anything. I don't need, whatever. So, I've managed to save a lot of money in a time where, obviously online spending is through the roof. Still managed to save a lot of money and realize I actually don't need a lot. With me and my 2 little girls that I have here on a part-time basis, it's we don't need much. As long as we've got stuff to do, we've got food, they've got clothes, I've got clothes, we've got TVs and whatnot. It's just the basics. It's it's sort of speaking back to what you said before, Scott, about shining a light on Melburnians or just people in general. That I think it's brought about a lot of realization that there's a lot of stuff that we, obviously that we do need, but there's plenty that we don't need. Like I was thinking about all the crap I used to buy when I was out at work and after work and whatnot. And I just go, well, it's not necessary, is it?
Yep.
So, and now I've got the cash to go on a half decent holiday with my kids when we get out of this. I've just tucked it away every fortnight when I get my pay, just tuck it away. And then I'm looking at the bank account the other day and I'm like, cool, we've actually got the cash now to go on that holiday that we've been talking about.
That's awesome. You
Yeah.
can buy lots of presents, but you can't buy time, yeah?
Yeah, and I'm all about experiences with my kids, like if we can. So, going overseas to say like somewhere like New Zealand, for example, where we've got a bit of family, would be an experience for them.
Yep. Brilliant. Awesome.
Super.
Thank you. So, and Heather, for you, wins. What are your wins been during lockdown?
Wins. This house I've put on the market, so we painted it, so 50 litres of paint. Actually, I think it was 55 litres of paint. We managed to paint this place, so that was, at first I was like, we're just going to do one wall, because it was this red wall that had sat there for 7 years. And then it was like, well, I'll just do the next bit. And then we'll just do the next bit. Unfortunately, my daughter helped. It's a big old home, so we painted like the 6 bedrooms, the 2 lounge rooms, the dining room, and just so that was a big win. And with Mum and Dad moving out, like really looking at what do we need, so that minimalist thing again. Part of me thinks I literally wallet, phone. What else do I really need when I leave here? So that's been big. And then the other thing was I was spending a lot of time. I got caught up in where am I going to live next, and sort of was Googling houses and whatever. And the reality is I never make decisions until it's time to make decisions. So it was big to just let that go and go, once I sell this, then I will be going, I'm going to go right now. I have absolutely no idea. And then a week ago, I lost a friend that I'd played sport with. We played sport since our teens, and we'd fought hard against each other at club level, and we played state together, and then we won the World Series together. And she just died very suddenly at the age of 59.
Wow.
An extraordinary, beautiful human, and it just shocked us. It shocked everyone and left us really devastated. And so I thought, you know what? I've got some other friends that we talk about having a reunion, because the world champion team, we talked about having a reunion, but we couldn't get together. Yeah. And then with Zoom, of course, you realise you can get together. All around the globe, you can get together. Like all these illusions we had about we can't get together. So I organised a Zoom call for a bunch of people that I started podiatry with in 78. I'm a podiatrist. So 1978, we got together. There were 12 of us finished, 10 of us on the call 2 nights ago, still connected. And until the last 2 years, like that, there was 11 of us still doing podiatry, like 40 years later. So again, that impetus to go, you know what, there are people that I love. There are people, and I needed to say to these people, hey, you've been really important in my life. And I just want to share my gratitude and say, thank you for 40 years, even though we don't catch up that much. So I think that thing about what is really important, that time and space to go, what really is important in my life. And even though I thought I'd looked at it a lot, because I've been reflective since my grandma taught me as a tiny little tot, but I'm like, it's a whole nother level of, what is important. And again, I'm a people person and a tactile person. I've been healing people for 40 years, and suddenly that's all gone. Hey, Alan. So yeah, there's a lot of change. There really is a lot of change. Looking at what do we really need, what's important, what have we taken for granted, and that future that we're going to co-create together more consciously, because we do know, time with our little ones is really important. Again, with Martyn, looking at what's important and who you want to work with, and Scott, the new things that you're doing, it's like, yeah, we can co-create this future. So there is no going back. There is no going back. There is no old normal. There is like, okay, what does the future look like? And it's up to us all to create that.
100%.
Is my belief. Maybe not be someone else's, but that's my belief.
So, I think you've got 3 other people here that would agree with you. So,
Absolutely.
So what are the wins that you're going to ensure that you take forward with you?
One is not do that planning stuff. That I'm not designed to, as you know, I'm not designed to plan. Other people are designed to plan. I'm simply designed to be in the moment. So recognizing that, letting go of a whole lot of conditioning that says, you need to plan this. It's like, no, in the moment when I know, I will know, and that's it. And one of the things that's become really concrete is, even though I can work with any gender, most of the people that I work with are men.
Yeah.
And so today I was talking with a bunch of men in the US and Spain, from Nigeria, again, another one's in the US, and here I'm sitting here with a bunch of guys. And so just claiming and owning that it just is, and it always has been for forever. So yeah, that will be stepping into partnerships and things around that, I expect.
That's awesome, because it's, like you're sitting back, you're calculating things a little bit differently because you're working on you and just sitting in you, realizing where you're best suited rather than pushing. So thank you.
Welcome. And you, Scott.
Thank you.
And you, Scott.
My wins have been, I'm strengthening an already amazing bond with my son. It's one of the most beautiful things that happened was Oscar's an only child. We've got another family with an only child down the road. So we sort of made a bit of agreement that the kids could play in the street just to try and, the families aren't going anywhere, but the kids are going crazy. And one of the things that happened was Oscar found he didn't communicate well with the other kid, and he sort of struggles a bit. So I was actually sitting in here talking to somebody, and he comes up, knock, hey, Dad, how are you? Listen, I need to talk to you. I'm going, hey, mate, 15 minutes. Is that okay? He goes, yeah, look, I'll just write you a note. And I go, awesome. No worries. Thanks, mate. So he goes in, comes back. He comes back in. He goes, hey, Dad, I'll give you the note now. I said, yeah, cool. I said, I'll let you know when I'm finished. So I finished my conversation. I read the note. I should have had it. So I've kept it because it's just amazing. Hey, Dad, it's great that I've got a new friend. I find that I can't communicate with him very well, and we've got lots of things different, and we don't like doing the same thing. I don't want to tell him to go home because I know he'll feel really sad about that, but I'm not really comfortable hanging out with him. I'm not quite sure what to do, Dad. So can we talk about that when you finish your conversation? And I'm like, so he comes in, and I've just grabbed him and given him a big hug. I said, mate, listen, thank you so much for sharing that. It was just amazing. I really appreciate that. I said, but let's talk about this because, you're a good, strong kid, and unfortunately for you, like it or not, you're going to be a leader because you talk about things and you've got a great way of articulating that. So I really appreciate that. But part of that is about learning how to work with other people. Yes. Okay. I said, well, so what are the things that you liked to do and what are the things you didn't like? And we just broke down the whole scenario. And in the end, he's agreed upon the fact that he's going to try and find ways to communicate. And unfortunately, they haven't caught up again since because they probably felt each other's energy and bounced off each other. But what a win. What a win to have had that opportunity to be here, to have that conversation and not push him away. That is huge. Like I'm so grateful for that. It's a huge win. Another win is the fact that I'm sitting down looking at my relationship with my wife, and I'm going, what is it I actually want? What is it that we can actually? Are we serving each other as best as possible? Because like, it's not that we're not getting along, but it's just there's some really big spotlights on it at the minute. So I'm sitting down working, and I can't work on Marcella because it's not my place. But I can work on what I want and then ask for that. So that's a big win for me, to sit down and actually put it all together and say, hey, listen, this is actually what I want in our relationship. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think we can make this happen? So that's a huge win. What am I going to take forward? There's another win that I really want to share, because at the start of this lockdown, I decided that my family's emotional health was more important than the financial side of things. There's enough money coming in with XYZ to survive, and not live a flash life, but survive. But get things organised, put the mortgage on hold, and just keep things going. I got quizzed on that. I got asked whether or not that was, how am I supporting my family? And that really hurt. But I am so grateful that I have made my decision to support my family emotionally rather than financially during something that's a really shit time.
Mm.
Well done.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But my thing I'm going to take forward is that.
Nice.
I'm actually going to promote, and I hope that I'm going to talk to a lot more fathers about, what do we do with our kids? How do we spend more time with our kids? Because I've got a little bit of it's a personal thing, but mums are just awesome with the kids up, and dads are involved too. I encourage dads to be involved through all of it, but up until 5 or 7, there's everything sort of mums. But after that, the kids sort of really need their dads. And I would love to see dads go, at that age of the kid's life, into part-time work. Choose part-time work. Choose the time to spend with the kids and give them the attention that they want. I'm going to find an article I saw many years ago, and it was about the kids in the camps in Calais, and these Irish actors and magicians used to go over there, and they would sit there and have jokes with the kids, and they do all this artwork, and it was really bad. But the thing is, they just wanted to feel good about doing it, and it was just brilliant, and I've never forgotten that. And I think that's been the biggest thing I want to take forward. Right now, I once Oscar goes back to school eventually, I'll be focusing on working during school hours. That's my primary. As long as I can do that until he gets into the point where he doesn't need me anymore, fantastic. So that's the win, and that's my little dream in society.
Mm.
So thank you for asking.
Right. Yes.
Thank you for sharing, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we've gone through the win. Let's go through the fear. Let's talk about the fear. Where are we at with the fear, John?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm just sort of wondering, I suppose, when my hiking business is going to get back on, if at all. I fear that may not happen. But at the same time, in terms of health or anything like that, maybe the fear of other people's mental health that are sort of close to me, particularly the ones in my life who are living alone. That's probably perhaps the only really fear that I've got, and how they're going to cope over, say, the next couple of months. I think the next week and a half, I think, are going to be really quite interesting, and I think it won't be a week and a half. I think it might be a little bit longer, perhaps, and how people are going to react to that. And so probably more so other people more than, say, myself.
Thank you. But I understand that. But I'm going to go back to something there. Your fear of, because you're business, which I was so stoked to, I know you personally, and your business is taking people hiking. And
Yep.
what's the concerns about not bringing that back? Because your dream of having that as part of the NDIS scheme, like it's a pretty big one that I think is really important going forward. So what are your views around that?
I mean, look, hiking will always, I suppose, be there. But it's something that I suppose I would like to do as part of my career, my profession, whatever you want to call it, is take people around Victoria, New Zealand, and wherever else, and show them places that they've never heard of before, or they have heard of. They just haven't had that confidence to go and do it. I'm not the most fearless person, but short of natural disasters, the outdoors doesn't really bother me. So I like to try and impart that confidence onto others. It's just I suppose a fear of, if my business doesn't go back, do I have the opportunity to do as we're saying, the forest therapy, as they call it, sort of idea that I've had brewing in the back of my head for a while. And just for Martyn and Heather's benefit of, obviously with any mental health plan, people get 10 free sessions, for example. They'll get, So my idea is, instead of going to see a psychologist for 10 sessions, you get prescribed with, or you get put onto X amount of hiking tour operators, and then you go and do your 10 free hikes and get outside rather than stay in a room for an hour and talk. And obviously there's still that talking element, but it's more so out with, the fresh air and the trees and all that. And I even know for myself, not that I've got massive problems in my life, but I get so much more clarity when I'm walking through a trail, say like up in the Dandenongs, which is quite close to me, and just walking around for an hour or two and thinking through life's problems, small, big, or indifferent. And once I've finished, I'm sort of much clearer for it. So I know what it does for me, and I'm sure there are other people out there who would perhaps benefit for something like that on a bigger scale. I suppose my fear would be not being able to proceed with that aspect of it, and a few other things within that business as well that I've kind of want to achieve.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. And I encourage everybody who is in Melbourne to actually get to know John, because his hiking tours are awesome. And I think it's something we could all do. I could actually picture the four of us all going out on one. It'd be quite
Absolutely.
nice.
Yeah, maybe. I'll be up for that.
Freebie, cash for comment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, John. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing your fears. So Martyn, what have been your fears? What are your fears? What will be your fears?
Probably, I guess, a fear if it goes on too long. Around money.
Yep.
And even a little bit of fear about. I want things to open up, but when they do open up, and I start spending more, then that's also come into my head. Going back to cafes and doing things with more people. So just having the money for that, because when you're living kind of this, at home, apart from food or buying on the internet, there's not much. You can go and buy. And I guess the fear around when I can go to Bali next, because it's not sounding like it could even be next year.
No.
So I don't know. But a bit like John, I fear for a lot of people that I know who I can see the mental health isn't great. I met a friend this morning. We had a coffee outside, well within my 5Ks, and she's got plenty of money, but she's just not coping well with the lockdown at all. Yeah. So I think, and I just think the impact on will be long lasting.
Yep.
With mental health for a lot of people. So for me, I'm not too worried about my mental health at the moment. even though I have mental health in the family. But yeah, that'd be my, I guess, my main fears.
Yeah, well, look, financial fears is a big one coming forward. You know, like it's something that we're all going to have to approach. You know, like you know, the big government. You know, I'm going to reserve comment on that because I don't think anybody would actually want to put those shoes on right now and do that. That position. So on that basis, you know, I'm not going to comment, but you know, we really need to look after each other financially and support each other through this because that's a really big decider in, you know, mental health opportunities. You know, like it's a big fear. You know, and I think that's something over the next few panels we'll talk about, the financial health, and you know, start opening that discussion because it's a very real killer of our society. So
and looking after each other, you know, giving support to each other. I know when when we were first in lockdown, I was making a lot more calls to people I didn't speak to often, just checking on them. I was trying to do like one a day for a while. It's kind of teetered off now, but I thought it was important to reach out to more people.
Yeah, I think we need to do that again too. I think we need to do a second round of reaching out to people because
I think you're right. Yeah.
So, oh, that's maybe our little mission. So, cool. Hey, listen, thank you, Martyn. I appreciate the honesty. You know, it's gold. Heather, fears.
Fears. Well, I want to go back a step and go the nature thing. I've got a friend who's just done nature therapy course, and yeah, she's got people joining her because she's not in Melbourne, but just knowing that, and even in Japan, you know, how they deal with mental health is, you know, you get time off to go and stand in the forest and things. So I think it's a really important, and I used to be a tour guide and take people, silver service tour guide camping. So I'm like, yeah, cool, bring that on.
Yes.
Let me know if you need someone.
Absolutely.
Because like I realise even with my fears that I have that I live in a very privileged space because I have a home that I will be able to sell, and you know, at 62, I've got some savings and things, and I have friends who don't own their own home and don't have savings, and you know, it's not just my friends. There's a lot of people out there who are really struggling, and for many reasons, and yeah, just I think sometimes it's really important for me to remember that, you know, I have what many people in the world don't have, let alone many people in Australia don't have. And I've journeyed deeply with depression, and even this year, lots of emotions come through. Suicidal thoughts are something that I have quite regularly. But the crazy thing is, or the good thing is, I can witness it and just go, you know, this is a death. This is a death of another part of me that is just going, you know, it's for me, it's really looking at what is crushing our heart and soul. So I don't necessarily see depression how I used to see it. I don't necessarily see it as the medical thing. And I think that as long as we keep people safe, that, you know, we go into the compost at times. And in that compost, it sucks, it stinks, it's shitty, and it's dirty. But it is, you know, I signed up to this life to experience it all, which means I'm going to experience the highs and I'm going to experience the lows. And then as long as we keep people safe and we go, yeah, like this stuff comes up and it's normal. Like there's however million people in the world, it's normal. How do we keep people safe and remind them? Because for me, always, no matter how dark it gets, like there's a touch of light. Always. And I know I've had clients who can't see that touch of light. They can't see that speck of light. And the importance of saying, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Like hang in there. You're important. You matter. You're worthy. You're enough. like just those things, because I would have clients stand in front of me and say, is it going to be okay? They honestly in those moments don't know that it's going to be okay. And again, I'm really fortunate that I do know. Even if I'm looking at that drive and I'm looking at that whatever, I ain't ever going to do it. And so I think with that fear is our intuition and it's our guidance system and it's there to protect us. And it's when we make fear wrong, it's wrong to be sad, it's wrong to be fearful, then that's just, and it's wrong to be depressed, it's wrong to experience life in all of its forms, then that just adds to the pressure and adds to the force, as opposed to this is part of the journey. You've just got to stay safe and be standing on the other side of it.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing, the fact that you've got suicidal thoughts, because a lot of people have them.
Yeah.
And if we start talking about them and actually not avoid the conversation, that allows us to have a voice inside of that. One of my big things, and especially at the moment, is I want to talk about suicide. I don't want to hide it. Suicide is an option, and if someone's suicidal, to sit there and say to them, suicide's not an option, you're making them fail again because they're thinking it. Why am I thinking this? Why am I thinking this is not right? A lot of people have suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
It's how we manage them that is the important part of it.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for that, Heather. I really want to thank you for sharing that. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
So.
And your fears, Scott?
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
We can't leave you out.
Yeah. Well, look, I've got a fear for how we're going to manage financially. I'm very confident that the support is out there, and we're going to start looking at things in a very different manner through the next period. We're going to look at the humanity rather than we're going to work on the return on emotion, not the return on investment. About how we share the energy, because I've lost everything twice. One was my fault for the way I ran a company, and I don't want to blame anyone else for that, but that was a massive hit that ice went through my company, and then one thing led to another. I'm going to get to that, TJ, and thank you very much for your comments. I'm going to actually address that in a sec, if that's okay. And so I lost the business, and that really hurt. And then I've spoken about it often. When Marcella had her accident, we got cleaned out again, and we still haven't come back from that. I had a business partnership that went bad, and it's taken its toll. It really has. We haven't recovered at all financially from that. Over the last 8 to 9 years, and that's a big thing. So, which in a way has prepared me for now, because I live off nothing. But it's a discussion that. Sorry, Alan just put up a comment. I love it, Heather. Don't let Scott off the hook.
I've only just found the comment section.
So I share that. But, so I think that's a real fear. I know it's a fear for my family as a whole, to how we work through it. Like, I'm really excited about how I move forward, because I've got these great opportunities, to work on my financial situation, the fuel I need for life. But my biggest fear is that we don't look at our society and change. And I don't want that to be my fear. I do these conversations every week so that we grow together, so we hear and we learn. I just want us to be brave enough to be able to step into these situations and own them. Helen Glover put up a post a couple of weeks ago, which it hit me in the heart. Are you okay day? Fantastic day. where everyone's ringing up everybody. Hey, how are you? Are you okay? Awesome.
Like that tomorrow.
Are you brave enough to answer that honestly? And then as a society, are we brave enough to sit there and hear those answers? Because that's the society I want to live in. So I am just going to pop back over to a quick comment right now, because suicide is when coping pain is overwhelmed. Suicide is a topic that I'm going to open up, and not today. We haven't come here to talk about it today, but I'm actually going to do a panel directed directly to that, because in Victoria at the moment, we are talking about COVID. Everything on the news, I don't watch the news, and I'm presuming you probably don't either. But COVID seems to be the issue that everybody's worried about. When are they going to start putting up the numbers about suicides? When are they going to start putting up the numbers about domestic violence and the true mental health component of our society? Because that is actually the biggest killer and the biggest problem. COVID around the world, it's making a massive dent. But the questions come into where we are. So I was rambling a bit there because I just went into where I want to finish. But believe it or not, we're already at 51 minutes. And TJ, I really want to thank you for putting that up there, because it's given me more confidence to have that conversation. So thank you. I'm going to ask everybody what the support you've seen around. What are the things you've seen that are just amazing, that you've seen people support in different ways that just really put a smile on your face? So I'm going to start with you, Heather, please.
Yeah. So as I said, my mum and dad are now in aged care.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the people in there. There are young carers. One of them she has no other family here. She's only 21. She came out on a boat as a refugee, and she's studying nursing, about to finish. And she saw Mum's chocolate. Mum eats this set chocolate, Aldi's chocolate, 70% dark, and she has like one piece a night. And so she noticed Mum putting the packages out. So she went and bought my mum chocolate.
Oh, beautiful.
That's nice.
So these people, I take it what I would normally be doing. So they're going above and beyond has just been, it's hard. It's hard creating that separation anyway. It's hard for someone going in, but just to know that there are people like that who just doing those simple things, that was just like, again, my heart just burst open to. And then in this aged care, my dad is one of the women there asked him and my mum to go up and said, hey, can you come to my room? And she was going into hospital. And her husband's got dementia, and she's like, so will you look after my husband while I'm gone? So my dad, 87, is in there looking after Brian, who has dementia, while this other lady's in hospital. And today they got told that she's not likely, she's come back to the home, and she's not likely to live. So again, she's come up and said, hey, can you two look after my husband for me? And so my dad has been a carer since he was tiny, because he was the youngest of four and his mum was quite sick. So he's been looking after people his whole life. So even though he's in aged care, there's someone looking after my mum. My dad and my mum are looking after someone else, and that's what makes the world go round, yeah.
Mm.
It really does. It really does, supporting. And what a great opportunity to find another way to support.
Yeah.
Thank you. John.
Examples of support. I think my two daughters, I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old one, and the 12-year-old's about to go into high school. So I think, it's a big year for her. I think it dawned on her a couple of weeks ago that she might be missing out on her graduation from primary school. And I'm sure it'll happen in some form, but maybe not the form that she thought it was going to happen. But I think just the support I think the school have given the kids, and particularly the ones who are coming in, the preppies and the ones that are going out in the year sixes, and also the communication and the support that they've given the parents to, it's okay if they don't do every task of their homework while they're at home, and it's okay if they miss something. Whereas, years ago it was every bit of homework had to be done, and there was a point system and all this other crap. And this is when they're in grade 2. I think it's been really nice to see how they've kind of just sort of taken a step back, and in some ways sort of, as a lot of people have done across a number of sectors of life here in Melbourne and just everywhere in the world, I'd say. And they've just realised that, okay, it's important for them to get through. They don't have to thrive. They just have to get through, do the best they can. And hopefully by 2021, the kids will be able to go back to fairly decent or normal when it comes to school. And they'll be able to resume that level of learning, and the teachers will be able to do their job as they've done before. So yeah, I'm just really appreciative of the school and all the other schools out there, I'm sure, that are supporting their students and their teachers as well, because we can't forget them. And real sense of community as a lot of schools are.
Nice.
Brilliant.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's really good. Martyn, what support things have you found?
I think mainly people. I've noticed people doing things for other people. Like in our building, people just seem to check in with each other more, do nice things, offer help. A friend I used to meet every week for a coffee, she now makes sure we have a Zoom call.
Nice.
So we can check in. And I've noticed more people asking how Mowgli's doing in Bali, because he's on his own. So really making a point of checking in to see, is Mowgli okay? More so than probably pre-COVID. And I still have HR ringing me for my old job, checking in. She's a very caring, and we get on, but just those kind of things, really, really nice. And I helped one of our neighbours upstairs with 2 boxes of wine the other day, because she was cursing the delivery guy at the door because they were heavy, and she just got over a broken arm. I said, "Do you need a hand?" "Oh, would you?" "Of course, I should give you a bottle." I said, "I don't drink." But then I got a lovely note, a card in my box, which was unnecessary, but a sweet card saying, when this is over, come up and have a drink. And thank you. So just people doing nice things, taking more care, which, Scott, gets back to what you were saying, which we need to do for each other, is to take more care and not run around like crazy humans, but just taking more care.
But that's a beautiful thing, and it's awesome. And I want to continue that, because in my street in particular, I've had, I think I've spoken about it last week or the other week, my 90-year-old neighbour, she's staying in her home. And I look forward to, I asked her the other day, because the whole street's looking after her, and because the way in which she's been looked after, her sons haven't been able to get there. She's been completely on her own. But she feels safe enough to spend her days out living in her home. Her family home is 60 years. She's not leaving it. She knows we can. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's support, there's a couple of guys that have been coming on here for the Victorian Brotherhood, and I hope to do a panel. I want to get a few more guys, get a couple of the admin guys on, and I want to do a panel about the Victorian Brotherhood of Sheffield, because what they are doing currently is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I want to give a massive shout out to the Victorian Brotherhood for what they are doing. Martyn's a part of it. You've seen a bit of what's going on.
Just joined like 2 days ago.
How it's amazing, isn't it, what they're doing? And on that, there's another group called Blokes United that's doing exactly the same thing. So I'm gonna leave that there because we are at the hour mark, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like I really appreciate everyone's time and honesty on this because I think this conversation is exactly what needs to happen. We just need to go through the process. What are we winning? What are our lessons? What are our fears? How are we supporting each other and find other ways to support each other? So on that, I'm going to ask everybody for their one thing on what they would like to, rather than give advice, what would you like to see? What's the one thing you would like to see moving forward? So I'm going to start with you, John.
Probably people just slowing down a bit. Like, I feel like we all run this whole really quick life, and everything needs to be done real quick and whatnot. And whereas probably just slow down and just take it in and reassess. And I'd like to see that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Martyn.
Well, John took the words out of my mouth. So yeah, slow down and take care of each other.
Yeah, good one.
Be there for each other. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Heather?
That we create the safety, the psychological safety to have real conversations and to reach out and ask for help and receive help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
And you?
Yeah, thank you. Before I go into what I'm about to say, I want to say what I'm going to say and then close it because it's something that is pretty personal. So I want to say thank you to Martyn, thank you, John, thank you to Heather for a beautiful conversation in a really tough time. And yeah, so thank you.
Pleasure.
It is a really tough time in Melbourne at the minute. And yeah, pop your masks back on because I want to honour somebody today. And we lost somebody. And bureaucracy and the care we need to have in society needs to step up. I want us as a society to be brave enough to find ways to care more and to question what actually serves us as a society. On that note, I want to read something that I hope I get through. Off with a yowl, a wail and a howl, a scatter of paws, a clatter of claws, went Schnitzel von Crumb with a very low tongue. Bits of Maloney, or skinny and bony, Muffin McClay like a bundle of hay, bottomly pots covered in spots, Hercules Morse as big as a horse, and Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy. If you know someone who's taken their life or something's happened because of this situation called COVID, honour them by speaking up. Make every life count. On that, thank you to everybody watching. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Scott.